Hey, I just received a message that somebody who has died like last night, midnight. So what you can do when you have, when you know that and you knew the person, while you are meditating on the absorptions, you can put the person next to you, for example. And you think that you are guiding that person. I just wrote back and I said, this is what I'm going. Comes quite timely, that meditation. Okay, so again, start. You train the mind to become open, to feel in a secure space, knowing that the only secure space is in our good heart, by the way. You check how you feel if you really want to do that. In general, the meditation we did before is not very pleasant. It can be very unpleasant to think, wow, all my friends, all my family, all my possessions, and this body, I have to leave behind. That can create quite a bit of fear. But then this one, when we let go of our five contaminated aggregates, is very peaceful towards the end, because actually we let go of all our causes for suffering. So, and then we go into the clear light. And the clear light is like at the moment here, in the valley, it's like the sky is a bit like the clear light. It's not one cloud in the sky, and it's very clear. Like that. Okay. So again, we do some silent meditation. If you're ready to go on that journey, I can just assure you, until now, nobody has died while we did this meditation. We all came back. So, and if one looks, it would be if somebody now would die during that meditation, when they go through the absorptions really calmly and really peacefully, we would think, "Ooh, this is terrible." But this would be such a good thing, because then, we are very consciously kind of using these absorptions in order to then remain in the clear light and meditate on emptiness. So that would be perfect. But we would see it as something really terrible. And I have to say, I prefer if you don't die. So please, also then come back when I tell you to come back, because I can't bring you back if you go somewhere in unknown places. Okay? Okay, so we try to relax again and really see it as a training, as a preparation for the time of death. And to feel fortunate that we have these methods, that we can do that. To think about the Buddha, to think about your guru. Again, the guru can help you at the time of death, even if he's not present. Or even if he's not in this body anymore, when we already now in our daily life, we take refuge. So again, taking refuge now is we take refuge in our potential, called the resultant refuge. That we think, wow, I have this incredible potential. And every time I die, if I do recognize the clear light, I could realize it just like this. But since beginningless times, I have not kind of realized the clear light as the nature of the mind, like the mind is the clear light. It's not there is the mind which has clear light. The mind is clear light. So since beginningless lifetimes, I have not realized it. I have missed every chance to realize it, although I died so many times. Now, I will die as much as possible to create a habit to recognize the clear light as the nature of the mind, because when you are in the process of dying, very quickly you will not have access to the intellect anymore. You won't be able to think anymore. The mind goes into a more subtle state. So we feel fortunate that we can do these amazing methods. So then, like everybody else, when they are about to lose their life, we might be a bit confused, and then we might remember, somebody might read it to us, this sutra at the time of death, where Akashagarbha asked the Buddha, where does a bodhisattva put his mind at the time of death? Kind of, what should I think at the time of death? So we try to internalize these thoughts. And we try, you can think, your guru is saying that, or the Buddha is saying that. Since phenomena are pure by nature, cultivate recognition that they lack true existence. So everything that now we are afraid to lose, we think, oh, wow, but that something that I'm afraid to lose and I see is really good and really I need this to survive. Somebody else might see this as very unpleasant. They lack true existence of existing from their own side. They lack being truly good or being truly bad or being truly uninteresting. That whatever basis is there outside, this is so subtle. But my confused mind, with its view of inherent existence, adds a lot to it. And it especially adds, I like, I don't like. But the I like, I don't like is not coming from the object. So if you think of an object or of a person that you're afraid to lose, try to see what it does when you think like this. And you can generate, instead of, attachment, I don't want to lose you, gratitude. Thank you so much, if it's a person, for having been with me for such a long time or a short time and having made my life so, so joyful. Totally different from, I don't want to lose you. Again, since phenomena are pure by nature, cultivate recognition that they lack true existence. The next one is, even though they lack true existence, and we also discussed that on Wednesday, they're still existing as a dependent arising. So we still have to do the conventional side with compassion. So cultivate an attitude, since they have the spirit of enlightenment, cultivate an attitude of great compassion. Everybody has the potential to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Everybody can become a Buddha. Nobody has to, but everybody can. And then that great compassion. Wherever I am reborn, it doesn't matter. May I be able to continue with this wonderful. Or even better, may I recognize the clear light and attain enlightenment just then and there, before the mind leaves the body. And instead of going into the bardo, I will then be able to manifest the Pure Land. That's the purpose of living and dying. To use everything now, the moment of death, to attain full awakening. Why? Because everybody has that potential. Therefore, let me lead all beings to that state. Same way as His Holiness Dalai Lama is leading us now. Teaching us, giving us these methods, inspiring us. And again, in order for the compassion to become too solid, since phenomena are clear light by nature, cultivate recognition that they are unobservable. Unobservable outside the mind. So again, this is to remember whatever then, go into the bardo, whatever appears, whatever happens, like these peaceful deities, the restful deities, they are not separate from my mind. They are just a projection of my mind, like a dream, when the mind is producing the whole. Since phenomena are clear light by nature, cultivate recognition that they are unobservable, meaning they cannot be found outside the mind. Since functional things are impermanent, cultivate an attitude of non-attachment. Attachment will lead us to a lower state. So how can we think, taking impermanence? Thinking at one point I would have lost these things anyway, because everything that comes together at one point falls apart. So thank you very much that I was able to use you, if it's objects, or to be together with you, if it is situations, people. Gratitude is the exact opposite of attachment. Both of them see the advantage for us. Attachment is afraid to lose. Gratitude sees the reality of impermanence and just says thank you. Then, so that we remember, since the mind is the cause of wisdom, do not look elsewhere for Buddhahood. We're already enlightened, we just don't know it because it's so covered. And we need to bring that Buddha nature to the surface. And at the time of death, it appears naturally. The only time where even without, shamatha and knowing emptiness and all this, that the clear light appears. The mind of clear light is always there, never lose it. Since the mind is the cause of wisdom, do not look elsewhere for Buddhahood, but recognize clear light. So when this death process starts, what dissolves is the elements and our aggregate. You might be familiar with it. If you don't know, then don't. The first element that absorbs or loses its power, it's not functioning anymore, its solidity, is the earth element. So you can experience things that have nothing to do with reality, meaning you have a feeling of falling, as if the earth is not supporting you anymore. So you don't have to visualize that, this is okay, but just to be prepared. Earth element dissolves or loses its power. You have a feeling, it has to do with the body, right? The aggregate form, the feeling of falling. You have no more control over your limbs. You might be wanting to open your eyes or close them. You cannot. You might be wanting to sit up or lie down. Lie down because it's gravity that will help you, but sitting up is not possible. You can't even move your arm anymore. It's very frightening because we are so used to be able to use to move. All this might happen when the earth element absorbs. But now what you can visualize is an appearance like a mirage, like hot air. When you drive in the desert, then it looks as if there's water in the distance, a fata morgana. This is because the earth element absorbs into the water element. Just visualize that mirage, like hot flimmering air. you're in Israel and most of you have been driving in the desert, you have direct experience. Also, if your eyes would still be open at that moment, your sight would become very blurry. You can't see clearly anymore because it's the eye sense that absorbs. And the next element that absorbs is the water element. It has to do with the aggregate of feelings or sensations. So again, we don't have to be so afraid of pain, because at this moment, the feelings that we can distinguish, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, it won't work anymore. So you might have pain, but you won't experience it as unpleasant. You might lie in a comfortable bed. You won't experience it as pleasant. So there's no more attachment and aversion towards sensation. Also, your ear sense loses its power. That means, your whatever sounds you hear, they become very muffled, very distant. And your body liquids are about to dry up. Your mouth might be very dry. You might have seen that with dying people. Your saliva, skin becomes very dry, very brittle. So again, when you know that this is normal, you don't feel so disturbed. And your inner vision is filled with smoke. Why smoke? Because the water element absorbs into the fire element. You pour water on fire, it produces smoke. Next element that loses its power or dissolves or absorbs is the fire element. It's the aggregate of discrimination. So meaning we can't distinguish so much anymore. You might still know that, I'm lying somewhere, there's some people around me. You can't remember their names. You don't know what they're doing here. The mind is starting to disengage from known things. The body heat retracts towards the heart. So if you are with a dying person, sometimes you feel that their limbs become very cold, even though they're still breathing. And you want to cover them, yet they feel incredibly hot. So if they throw away the covers, don't cover them again, even though they feel their limbs feel cold. This is normal. The body heat retracts towards the heart chakra. The body cannot digest food or drink anymore because for that it needs heat. You can't smell anymore. No sense loses its power. And your inner vision is filled with sparks within that smoke. And why sparks? Because the fire element and the next one is the air element. So when air and fire comes together, then there's spark from the wood. And you can maybe remember If you have ever fainted, or if you stand up too quickly and your blood pressure is too low, you see these sparks also, they appear. It's not that this is totally unknown to us. We have all seen these sparks, moments of weakness, or just before you faint, or pain sometimes also. What happens also at this moment, because you will soon stop breathing, so your inhalation becomes very, very difficult. You might make a sound like this, and your exhalation becomes very long. So again, it's absolutely normal. The body is about to shut down, doesn't digest anymore, doesn't need any food anymore, doesn't experience any hunger or thirst. And also then will not need oxygen anymore because the breath just stops naturally. So we don't have to be afraid of suffocating. The body will not need the oxygen anymore. With the next step, when the air element. Inhalation, exhalation stops. You lose contact with the outer world. You're clinically dead. Mind is still in the body. You cannot taste or touch anymore. You cannot perform any physical actions anymore. You're not mindful at that moment of any external activities. And your inner vision would be a very big dark room that is lit by one candle, and the flame is very unstable and just about to go out. Four elements that the body is made up of has dissolved. You can visualize this image of very unstable light in a big dark room, sputtering candle just about to go out. Why? Because air dissolves into space. Take away the oxygen from a flame, the flame dies down. Now is only mind left, and also because the more gross mind needs the brain, so there's no more thought. But there's still in the subtle mind kind of concept. They talk about these 80 concepts that come from either attachment, aversion, or ignorance. They start to dissolve, they start to lose their power. So now on, the mind becomes more peaceful, more subtle with every step. What you first have is like what they call a white appearance. It's a very clear vacuity filled with white light, not very bright white light, that only comes at the end. But light, they say, like reflecting on a freshly fallen snow on a full moon's winter night. A little bit like that, a reflection of white light, but clear vacuity, nothing appearing. You don't need to think about anything, just visualize that. It's appearing, it's normal, it's called the white appearance. Then the next one is called the red increase. It has to do with the drops we have in our body, but we're not going to go into that. Don't worry about that one. So in that very clear vacuity, what appears is copper red light. visualize that. You're used to these absorptions, you know that then there's only one more appearance and then is the clear light. So now, as we are doing this consciously, we train the mind by thinking, I must not miss the clear light. You won't be able to think that at the time of death. The concept was kind of thoughts disappear. Next appearance is utter darkness. And some people who have near-death experiences, they sometimes describe that tunnel experience. That's what it is. It's like all the subtle winds where the mind is kind of riding on in our energy channels are dissolving into the undestructible drop in the heart. Utter darkness. Then when that appearance ends, you come into the clear light, which is the mind at its most subtle level. So there's no I who sees the clear light. It is like the clear light, the mind, the bliss that comes from this become totally one. And when the mind, through training, while we are still alive, recognizes it, then they say the sun clear light, which is, or daughter clear light, which is what we train, and the mother clear light, which is the natural clear light, when they come together, this would be the moment of full awakening, when there is a spontaneous, not conceptual understanding that this is the nature of the mind. So for the moment, you just visualize it. Like the totally clear sky, no direct source of light, and also not blue, but still like this vastness. No beginning, no end, no I, me, and others. Just space, luminous space. Try to stay there as much as possible by having the image, by visualizing the image of luminous, unlimited, no boundary, no beginning, no end, spaciousness. And then very trained yogis can stay in that clear light to make the mind familiar with this, with the nature of the mind, the conventional nature of the mind. Okay, so that's not emptiness. What we see here is it's the clear light, which is also empty of inherent existence, because it needs a mind that is clear light. So they can stay in that state quite long to make the mind familiar with it, or then attain full awakening in that state. Now, for us, it is good to already now to fill that spaciousness with compassion. Again, at the time of death, we will not be able to think, okay, now I'm filling that space with compassion. The mind needs to do that, needs to be trained, accustomed that it does it automatically. So I think, purpose of my existence is to be a benefit to others. Let me use this understanding of clear light to become a Buddha, something like that, in order to guide all beings to the state. Or at least, while in this clear light, wherever I will be reborn, may I be able to be of benefit to others, meet these wonderful teachers, practice the stages of the path, and quickly attain the state of a Buddha. So then the mind would, when the clear light ceases, then the mind would leave the body, and it's only then that you cannot go back. Then the body is dead. The mind still exists, but the body is dead. It would go into an intermediate state until it finds the rebirth according to the karmic imprint that has been activated at the beginning of this process. This is why these thoughts about, all phenomena now purity, they are unobservable. Everybody has put a potential, therefore let me guide them there. Great compassion, or Buddhahood is in the mind. So when we activate these karmic seeds with these thoughts at the beginning of the process, then we have a good chance to have another precious rebirth and continue it. But now we're not going there, so it goes backwards, kind of. Every time we die and then reborn, so by rebirth it goes backwards. So we just visualize that briefly, so we're sure you come back into this body. So from the clear light, you go to the appearance of utter darkness. From utter darkness, you go to the appearance of copper red light, which is called the red increase. And actually, the utter darkness called black near attainment. Come across these words at one point, then you know why or what it is. So the red increase is copper red light. Then the white appearance, white light reflecting on snow from the full moon. There is this flickering candle. From there, the spark. Within the smoke. From the smoke, the appearance of a mirage. Then you really come back to this body. You feel how the body is either lying on a cushion or on the couch or on the bed. You feel how the earth is supporting you. Start to move your fingers, your toes. You take 3 very deep breaths. And you're happy that you're still alive. We can continue with the past. We have the certainty at the moment that we can continue with the path. We don't know how long, at least with this body, with this kind of mindset. We can. Then we dedicate. Dedicate that, you know, at the moment we have faked this process. But many, many, many beings on this planet have gone through this process and have died right now with us. So we dedicate by our practice that everybody who goes through this process of dying life after life after life, may they be able to do it just as calm, composed, peaceful as we did. May they be able to realize their clear light nature very, very quickly. And I would dedicate for this person who has just died, like last night, Jacques Collet, so that he has a safe passage through the bardo and attains a precious human rebirth, or will be reborn in a pure land, be able to meet spiritual practices that will lead him to enlightenment. Him and all other sentient beings who are in the bardo. Okay, so then we can end the session. Maybe if you feel like just lying there and enjoy the space, that's also fine, because now is a break anyway. So you can definitely do that. I just need to make sure that everybody is okay. Yeah, can you give me a nod that you feel fine? Okay, good. Thank you. So that's good. And, okay. Okay, so that one is quite a pleasant, actually, quite a pleasant reflection, because we drop everything that is a burden. I feel okay. Thank you, Dina. So we drop everything that is a burden, and when we visualize that clear light, become one with the clear light, with the spaciousness, where we, you know, it really opens up. It can happen. Yeah. Okay. If you have questions, you can ask like after the next two meditations. We meet again at 2:00 your side, and we meditate again. It becomes very unpleasant, but on the reality of our samsaric existence, in order to get this going, that we want to get out of it because we have that potential, and on the causes. But in the meantime, enjoy your lunch, because we're still alive and we still need to feed the body. And again, when you eat, also remember, food is not really a source, or, you know, food is not there to give us pleasure. If it does give us pleasure, all the better, but don't put all your efforts into making it pleasant. It's not worthwhile. Okay. So, but food is there to nourish my body so I'm healthy, so I can be of benefit to others in whatever way. Already now, when somebody needs, you know, the shopping done, or some cleaning done, or holding their hand, or whatever, then I need a healthy body in order to be able to do that. And then, but before you eat it, you offer it to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and you think, may this food become medicine for my body. This one sentence, especially if you have a problem with food, like food aversion or food attachment or all this, all of a sudden that loses its power, you know, the attachment or the aversion, by thinking, oh, may this food become medicine for my body, because that's what food is for, is to nourish us. The pleasant feelings we get from an open heart, kindness, connectedness, and all this, We don't have to destroy the planet, you know, always to produce the most delicious foods and transport them from wherever. Food is nourishment for the body. It's like medicine, so that we don't die. And that's good enough. We don't need to make more of it. And then we find sources of happiness somewhere else. But yeah, if, you know, again, it's another matter if you cook for somebody else because you want to give them pleasure, then that's different. But when you cook for yourself, as long as it nourishes, better, because then you get a healthy body. Pleasant food doesn't give you a healthy body. And it gives you a healthy mind for a few seconds, and that's it. And then it gets attached. Yeah. Whereas nourishment for the food, that gives you a healthy. And also when you offering the food to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, that also cuts our attachment that the food has to be this and that, in a certain way. So everything has a purpose. So please enjoy your food, because otherwise it would be very unfair not to enjoy your food, that so many beings have worked so hard to make sure that it ends up in your plate. Then again, when you think like this and you say, thank you, Mother Earth, the insects, the rain, the sun, and then all the humans who have planted it, harvested it, transported it, packed it, blah, 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 the whole thing, then there's gratitude and your heart is wide open, and then it doesn't matter what it, as long as it's healthy. Whatever you call healthy, right, is also has very relative healthy food. Okay, so please enjoy. And as I say, not many duties we have, but we have the duty to enjoy the food. That's fair towards the people who have had to make so much effort to produce it. So this is your duty, to enjoy your food. Okay? Do you think you can fulfill that duty? Okay, so please don't forget. Okay, so maybe see you at 2:00. Caro, si tu es là cet après-midi, ça sera 1h. Okay? Great. Bye.